So with me today, we have Tyler Kay from Chappaqua, New York. Most recently, was just spent the semester playing junior hockey in Maine. He's grown up playing hockey. Actually, played against Trevor Zegras and Spencer Knight growing up, so that was a little fun for him to watch the World Juniors last night. And then we have Jake Weiner, who goes to University of Vermont. He's a junior. We grew up going to camp together. He's a huge Ranger fan. I'm a huge Islander fan. So as you can imagine, there were spirited discussions and a little bit more than that over the course of our 10-year friendship or so. And we're just going to chat about the World Juniors from last night.
I think we should start with the U.S. Getting the gold.
It was a heck of a game.
I also, on that note, with both things kind of happening around the same time, like the start of the season, how training camps just started and kicked off with the World Juniors. I think that could actually be a good talking point with how some people are saying the younger guys going into camp that played in the World Juniors now have a slight advantage. So there could potentially be more young players making the big teams this year.
Definitely, especially if you look at the 7 teams that didn't make the bubble. These guys haven't played a game in 10 months. You look at guys like Turcotte, Zegras, Byfield, all these guys have gotten game action in the last 10 days, and they've played at one of the highest levels besides the NHL. And I think it really does give them a step up over guys like maybe Akil Thomas in the Kings camp or other Ducks prospects. In speaking in terms of Zegras, where they're really trying to find those third line, fourth line slots for the season.
Yeah, I think especially in Zegras's terms, he's all the talk around the hockey world right now. And I mean, we were talking about it last night, how the Kings and Ducks prospects were all flown privately out to their training camps last night to probably step on the ice this morning and be expected to perform at the level they were playing at in the World Juniors, if not better. But just the confidence that those players have going into these training camps because of the experiences that they just went through and getting the experience at the pace that they played at is just I think you're going to see most of those guys make the rosters when typically they'd be looking more into a first line American Hockey League role.
Absolutely. The game next year is moving 100 miles an hour. And I'm not sure Zegras needs any more confidence if you saw what he said before the game, saying Canada tested 5-on-5. But I mean, he's had one heck of a tournament. He had the second most points by an American ever in 6 less games or whatever it was. And then Turcotte the last 3 games. I mean, love pumping his tires a little bit. He's a Badger, but he just could not miss. He was in front of the net. And Dave Starman pointed out, more than anything, that guy, if he was blind, could find the front of the net.
Yeah, absolutely. I honestly wonder though, you see all these prospects at the World Juniors and stuff, and then there's guys like Lafreniere who missed it. Obviously, that's a special case, first overall pick. It's a no-brainer for the Rangers to hold him out. But maybe you look at a guy like Nick Robertson who opted to stay in Toronto, and he didn't go because he wanted to prepare for camp. And I really wonder what that'll look like, in terms, I don't know if there's any prospects on the Leafs who played in this tournament who are going to be fighting for a spot, but I wonder what that comparable would look like in terms of readiness and hopping back into camp.
I think the Leafs had one prospect on Russia. I think it was Abramov. Yeah. And he actually had a very strong tournament for them. He was one of their leading scorers. So that kind of Robertson, who's a guy who's constantly fighting for a spot on that talented Leafs team, to see how he competes with someone who hasn't seen NHL time, but has been playing competitive hockey for the last month. So right. I think that will be an interesting thing to watch unfold.
You can even go back to the Kirby Dach thing, and it's so unfortunate that he has to get surgery now and miss a significant chunk of time. And I don't know if you guys, I know, Jake, you have a subscription to The Athletic, and you might have read Pierre LeBrun's article about the decision what the Blackhawks made to send Dach. And it was greatly influenced by Jonathan Toews, who played in that 2007 World Juniors after he was drafted. And I mean, is pretty famous. Canada won the gold, Toews in the shootout. But how much Case credits that World Juniors experience for giving him leadership qualities, and he really credits that for the reason he's the Blackhawks captain now, has had such a successful run in the NHL like to this point, and that's where the Blackhawks were looking at with Kirby Dach.
Right, exactly. I did actually read that article, and I think when you just think about how important like the World Juniors is, you just you have the opportunity to represent your country, let alone be named captain. I mean, you're not going to pass it up for anything. And I think for a guy's development and confidence, it could do a lot. But again, there's that risk with the injury, and I mean, it's just terrible to see.
I
Absolutely.
think also on top of like the Kirby Dach decision, I mean, what a lot of people outside of the hockey world don't understand is these kids grew up basically playing for their countries from the time they were 16 to when they age out of junior hockey at 20. So it's on top of the like awesome experience, they also have they've put a lot into it already. So I think that also made the decision for Kirby Dach easier. Like you were last night, the USA guys that were in that game in the Hlinka Gretzky Cup in 2018 lost in the gold medal game because of a blown call by the referees. And they were using that as fuel last night too, because I think it was 7 guys on the team were involved in that game. And they grow up playing against each other. They grow up playing for their countries. It's kind of like unfinished business, I think. And it runs a little bit deeper than the money they're being paid in the NHL.
Absolutely. And I think that we have what we need for this tape. I'm happy to continue this conversation because I love this. I talk about hockey regularly with both of you, but I'm going to stop recording for now.